Very special program, very special occasion, very special personality who will be speaking this afternoon. Now, we perform this Shravan Yagya so that we can understand Krishna a little bit more, so we can come close to Krishna a little bit more. And of all the different aspects of Krishna, one very beautiful aspect is his willingness, his enthusiasm to reciprocate with the devotee. Yes, if Krishna was only up there and we had no way of connecting with him, that would be a different dynamic altogether. But Krishna, he's right there, right close, and constantly engaging with the devotees. And of all the examples of Krishna reciprocating with his devotees, perhaps the most beautiful, sweet, and glorious example is of Sri Radharaman Lal. So we celebrate today the anniversary of Lord Sri Radharaman's appearance, and we'll be hearing about this pastime from His Grace Sri Radharaman Prabhu, or Sri Radharaman Das, who is the very dear servant of Sri Radharaman. So we're very fortunate. We want to express our gratitude to Sri Radharaman Prabhu, because Sri Radharaman Prabhu goes not only the extra mile, he goes extra few hundred miles to be able to offer this service here at Bhaktivedanta Manor. So we'd like to really express our gratitude to him. He is, very busy personality, yet he takes time, research, all these papers. So please, all ears, hearts, and attention as we hear. We want to welcome Sri Radharaman Prabhu for the Katha with some enthusiasm. Can we please put our hands together? We say Hari Bol 3 times. And all the Kathakas, we have to say these devotees who will be adding the magic to the Katha through the music. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Thank you very much, Prabhu. Over to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. I would first of all like to, from the bottom of our hearts, the hearts of our team here, thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your schedule today, on Sunday the 18th of May, to be with us here today. So please accept, on behalf of the team, our heads at the feet of every single guest, friend, brother, sister, peer, and our seniors. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So today is going to be lots of fun because I have a clicker in my hand today. So we're going to be sharing some photos of the descriptions as we take you all through today's journey. But I have two small requests to make. The first thing is, you see this wonderful artistic QR code. If you would like to access the bhajans on your mobile phones, hopefully your cameras should pick up a link. And then what we'll do is, one of the administrators, in about 10 minutes, they can repost the bhajans, so that those who are joining over the next 5 to 10 minutes will then have access to the bhajans. And then my request is if the administrators can repost it again when the next bhajan comes up, because there'll be another QR code for those who are coming a bit later. Okay? And then the second thing is, this is probably not going to happen given my notorious time management only in kathas. Otherwise, I'm okay with time management. And that is that we have a Slido code. So if you download Slido on your phones and you access the Slido code, then you can ask some questions anonymously. And if there's some time towards the end, we'll try to answer a few questions. Otherwise, through the group that you'll join to access the bhajans, I'll respond to the answers to the questions later on in the week. So feel free to join Slido through that access code, which will be available on every slide, and you can ask your questions if you so wish. Hare Krishna. So let us now enter into Vrindavan Dham. In our lives, we are also busy with our responsibilities and our various duties. But over the next 1.5 hours, let us all join hands, sitting beside each other, through the divine holy name, through the celestial sounds played by our wonderful expert musicians here, and my very feeble attempt to share the story of somebody who is not known. And this is the most amazing part. If you were to look at the history of Lord Krishna's culture, especially the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is only one personality to whom and about whom all authors remain mute. Why? Why did Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada translated, why was the story of Gopal Bhatta Goswami not included? Ask this question to yourselves. Why was the deity of Sri Radharamana Dev not included in the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Why in the Chaitanya Bhagavat? Why in possibly all of the literatures that came out during the medieval times? We understand from hearing through the Shruti process that Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he personally begged at the feet of all of the authors who wrote the biographies of Lord Chaitanya, don't include me, don't talk about me, don't mention my name. In my little understanding, for such individuals who are ever so humble that they don't wish to be part of the pages of history, there has to be something very beautiful about them. So 2 generations and 1 generation later, and even some of his disciples, they began confidentially to write about Gopal Bhatta Goswami and write about the deity of Sri Radharamana Dev. It's been painstakingly difficult to try to find some scarce scriptures to put the story together. Using the Bhakti Ratnakar by Narahari Chakravarti and using the text called Karna Ananda by Yadunandan Acharya, and some other texts as well, which are internal to the temple of the Sri Radharamana Dev Mandir. I've put together some of the pastimes and also astronomically calculated the precise dates. So please forgive me if there are any lapses in trying to share something which is very much unknown, but I'll do my very best. Let us go back. The history of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. For the ease of discussion, we'll just call him Gopal. Okay? But don't get him confused with Gopal Krishna. Okay? Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Gopal. The history of Gopal dates back 5,000 years ago. Let us try to understand the genesis of what took place 5,000 years ago in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which led to the 483rd self-manifestation of the deity of Lord Krishna. In this world, many people want to see miracles. Many people want to see something spiritual, some magic. 483 years ago, Krishna descended as a living deity. A deity which has never been installed. A deity within whose heart Sri Radharani personally resides. A deity which, if he's happy to see you, he'll show his teeth. His smile changes every day. Sometimes one tooth, sometimes 7 teeth, sometimes one side smile, 2 side smiles, big smile. A deity who speaks. A deity within whose akar, within whose form, reside 3 personalities. Sri Radharani, Lord Chaitanya, and the 3 Thakurs. But the genesis of Sri Radharamana Dev is in the pages of the Bhagavatam. 5,000 years ago, Ekada, once upon a time, Kartike Masi Paurnamasyam Mahotsavaha Asin Nanda Grihe. In the home of Nanda Maharaj, there was a festival on the full moon day of Kartik. Now, Krishna had already booked a date with Sri Radharani. And he was late because there was a festival taking place at the house of his father, Nanda Baba. Sri Radharani waited for hours. Krishna didn't turn up. And finally, by the time Krishna left the festival in the Kartik Purnima, he arrived very late at night to Varshana. Shriji was very upset to see him. Sacha Krudha Tam Uddhare. Krudha. Sri Radharani was so upset. Why did you come late? We had a schedule, we had a diary entry, yet you came late. Without hearing Krishna's view, she immediately removed from her sari a golden thread. Tam Uddhare. So that Krishna is never late again, she used the golden thread and she tied it around his waist. Tam Uddhare. while tying Krishna around his waist, you would have expected her to now be pacified. But she looked away. She wouldn't speak to Krishna, yet she tied him and she arrested him in Varshana. Lord Krishna, as you know, he's very good at making excuses. Lord Krishna began to explain, Sri Radharani, there was a festival at home. There were guests at home. That's why I'm late. Sri Radharani was finally convinced that Krishna was not late because he lacks love towards her, but his love is ever increasing. Then Sri Radharani released Krishna from this golden thread. This golden thread and the waist of Krishna is very significant. And this is the origin of what we are celebrating today. Lord Shri Krishna, while smiling at Sri Radharani, he said to her, Damodareti me nama priyam tena shubhanane. Since you tied my waist with your golden thread, your golden rope, in the future, I will be called Damodara. At the time when Mother Yashoda would tie me to the mortar, Tada Vyaktam Bhavishyati, that name of mine would then become evident. This is a very small story which carries so much significance. And we will return back to the story a bit later on to understand the connection. A few years later, we have to now fast forward about 3 years, when Krishna was 8. Lord Shri Krishna, he invited Sri Radharani and her associates to conduct the epitome of spiritual love, known as the Ras. This is not something for humans to access or celestials to access, even liberated souls. This is a very intimate engagement between Lord Shri Krishna and his internal potency. But the Bhagavata mentions that there are 5 key points which took place that are directly relevant to the Katha today. Lord Shri Krishna, while in the association of Sri Radharani and the gopis, he suddenly vanished. And the gopis then went looking for Krishna. They found his footprints, the marks of the flag, the lotus, the thunderbolt, the elephant, the goad, and barley corn. These are very specific symbols under the feet of Lord Shri Krishna. They found his footprints. But, Shukdev Goswami explains, they were then intermixed with the footprints of Sri Radharani. They assumed that they were intermixed and not side by side because Krishna had in fact put his arm around Sri Radha. These points are very important to mention so you can understand the crescendo of this small little event. Suddenly, they then saw that Krishna's footprints were pressed into the ground. The gopis realized this must be because Lord Shri Krishna then carried Sri Radharani so her feet don't get hurt by the sprouts, the grass, etc. But then they saw that Krishna's footprints were imprinted into the ground only using the ball of foot. And the gopis assumed this must be because Lord Shri Krishna stood on his toes to get flowers from a tree and to make her a crown. At that point, Sri Radharani said to Lord Krishna that I will no longer walk with you. You need to carry me for the rest of the journey. Lord Krishna said to her, "Beside you is a peepal tree. Climb the tree, and from the tree, mount my shoulders." You can all guess what happened next. Sri Radharani, she climbed the peepal tree, and then Krishna vanished. And when Krishna vanished, some of the acharyas explained, he actually hid under the orani, the chunni, the veil of Sri Radharani. At the time when Sri Radharani was greatly attached to Krishna in this particular pastime, where she was being favored by him, at that point, Krishna vanished. You can try to imagine and contemplate the state of her heart. At that point, Sri Radharani, she hugged the peepal tree. That peepal tree is there in Vrindavan to this day. It's actually my son hugging the peepal tree. Vajas. Sri Radharani, she hugged this peepal tree, assuming this peepal tree to be Lord Krishna himself. While Sri Radharani was hugging this peepal tree, she cried out the following words, which I would like all of you to respond with me. This is the foundation of today's Katha. Please respond with me. He Natha, Ramana Preshtha, Kwasi Kwasi Mahabhuja, Dasyaste, Kripanaya Me, Sakhe, Darshaya, Sannidhim. Sri Radharani, she cried out, "O Master, O Lover, O my dearmost, Kwasi Kwasi Mahabhuja, where are you? Where are you? Please, O mighty armed one, Mahabhuja, who embraces me. O friend, my Sakha, Sannidhim, show yourself to me, your poor servant." Some of the acharyas explain, this was the first time Sri Radharani said the name of Krishna. Because some of you will know that in Braja culture, they don't recite the name of their partner. And the name that she called Lord Krishna by was my personal love, my lover, Raman. He Nath, Ramana Preshtha, Kwasi Kwasi Mahabhuja, Dasyaste Kripanaya Me, Sakhe Darshaya Sannidhim. Sri Radharani, from the core of her heart, she called Krishna for the very first time as my personal lover, Raman. This is not a name that any demigod, any celestial, any acharya, any gopi, any manifestation of liberated souls have ever called Krishna by. This name, Raman, is Sri Radharani's personal name towards Shyam Sundar. Now, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukdev Goswami explains that while continuing to search out Krishna's path, Avachinto Bhagavato, the gopis discovered their unhappy friend close by. Margyam Gopya Viduritaha. Sri Radharani was bewildered by separation from her lover, who she now named Raman. Shukdev Goswami further explains, Taya Katitham Akarnya. Sri Radharani told her friends when they found her embracing this peepal tree. Sri Radharani said to them that Madhav had given her much respect, but somehow she has suffered dishonor because of her personal misbehavior in transcendental ecstasy. The gopis were naturally Vismayam paramam yayo. They were naturally extremely amazed to hear this from Sri Radharani. Lalita, Vishakha, Champaklata, Chitra, Tungavidya, Indulekha, Rangadevi and Sudevi, they all began to console Sri Radharani. He'll return. He'll come back. But he didn't return back. He remained invisible. The name that she recited, Raman, did not appear. It is only today that 4,500 years later, we understand that the person who Sri Radharani called remained hidden until 4,500 years later. That's what you call love in separation. Not 5 years, 10 years, 1,000 years, 4,500 years. But you know what's interesting? Amongst the gopis that we just named, the person who was instrumental in manifesting the love of Sri Radharani was not the gopis. It was her sister, Ananga. It was Ananga Devi, Ananga Manjari, Ananga Sakhi, who 4,500 years later appeared when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his advent in the form of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Ananga, the sister of Sri Radharani, she took it upon herself to discover and manifest the lover of Sri Radha, her older sister. Gunamanjari and Ananga Sakhi, they both combined 4,500 years later as Sripad Gopala Bhatta Goswami. And it is in this way that the Sakhis, they all realized this is the time when, O friends, O Sakhis, the time has arrived to sing auspiciousness. Heri Sakhi Mangala Gavori, Dharati Ambara Sajawari. This is the time, 4,500 years later, Dharati Ambara Sajawari. Let us decorate the earth. Let us decorate the skies, because the lover of Sri Radharani has arrived.
beautiful habit of taking songs and adding Radharaman's name wherever we can. And so the way they sing this song there was more like this. Aaj mure Radharaman ghar aavenge, aaj Radharaman ghar aaj mure Radharaman ghar
Haribol! So beautiful, so beautiful. And you know this song, Prabhuji has sung many, many times in the presence of Sri Radharaman Lal Ki Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Vishakha. Thank you so much. As we know, so many bhajans are in Bengali, but today we are singing Brajabhasha bhajan. It's a little bit more familiar with those who speak Hindi and Gujarati. And isn't it so beautiful? May I just have one request? If Her Grace Chintamani Mataji, I have one request. Can I please request you to come and sit at the front? It will make me feel so much more nicer. Please. Thank you, Chintamani Mataji. Chintamani Mataji is a mother to so many of us, especially me. And it will mean so much to me if you come and take a seat at the front. Thank you, Mataji. Would you like to have a quick translation of these beautiful words? Very quickly. Chokapuravo, Mati Rangavo, Ajamore, Pia, Ajamore, Radharaman, Ajamore, Shama Gara Avenge. Decorate the courtyard. Color the earth for today. Lord Krishna will come to your home, to my home, to our home. So for those who are singing loudly, he'll come to your home, no doubt. Khabar sunavu jo, khushi re batavu jo, aaj amore sham gara avenge. I will share the news, announcing it with joy, that today Krishna will come to my home. Eri sakhi mangala gavori, dharati ambara sajavori, aaj utaregi piya ki savari, piya ki savari. Savari, Krishna travels all over the world. Aaj utaregi हमारी पिया की सवारी और वे भी मेरे घर में. Lord Shri Krishna's travels around the universe are going to end up in my home. And therefore, devotees and friends, Sakhi, Mangala Gavori, sing auspiciousness. Har koi kajal lagavori, mohe kala tika lagavori, in Braj, so that inauspiciousness doesn't enter into the most joyous of moments. Let us decorate ourselves with kajal. Let us decorate ourselves with the kala tika. Unki chabi se dikhu main to pyari. This is such a beautiful line. Please respond with me. Unki chabi se dikhu main to pyari. When you look at a mirror and you see yourself, if you happen to be beautiful, when you look in the mirror, you'll admire yourself. Sri Radharani, her mirror is Krishna. Unki chab se dikhu main to pyari. When I look at Krishna's face, I see my beauty. So sweet, huh? Sri Radharani and Lord Krishna. Lakshmi Jivaro, Nazar Utaro, Ajamore Piyagara Avange. Nothing should come in its way of Lord Krishna coming to my home. Therefore, let us all call upon Lakshmi, Lakshmi Jivaro. So I'll send the translation on the group if you join, okay? And you can read the rest of it there. But as Prabhuji was singing, the various sweet cuckoos, the koyal, they chirp. Pihu pihu papiya rate. Kuhu kuhu koyale rate. That even the birds and the animals are all singing for Krishna to come home. Krishna came home 483 years ago, not too long ago, in our own history. And therefore, today, singing such bhajans takes us to that moment of ecstasy when Lord Krishna's associates realized that so many years later, Sri Radharani's prayer was manifested. But now, very quickly, in supersonic jet, we shall move just 500 years ago. the only deity of Lord Krishna who is recognized to be Damodara, the deity whose waist was bound by the golden thread of Sri Radharani. That is why in Kartik we say Radha Damodara, because the story actually originates in this particular pastime. The only deity which resides in India, which is actually the deity of Damodar, is situated in the largest temple complex in the southern part of India called Srirangam, set in 600 acres of land. This deity is 16 feet in length. And the Sri Vaishnava tradition of the temple, they recognize him as Damodar. In fact, one of the Arvals, Tirupana Arval, 2000 years ago, writes about the deity eating makan. Periya Vachan Pillai, he notes that the Ranganath deity of Srirangam, to this day, has the markings of the rope that Sri Radharani had tied around his waist. It was on the Sunday, 6th of July, in the year 1511, on the Ashada Mas of the Shukla Ekadashi day, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 1 year after taking sannyas, at the age of 25, pilgrimed and arrived in Sri Rangam. The Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, Prema Veshe Kela Bahuta Gana Nartana Deki Chamatkara Hoila Sab Lokera Mana. In the ecstasy of Krishna Prem, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in various ways danced and sung Krishna's names. Deki Chamatkar, the inhabitants of Srirangam, the hundreds and thousands of Brahmins, they saw a chamatkar. They saw a miracle. The miracle was that every person got struck in wonder. And amongst the tens and thousands of Brahmins, the time when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived to take darshan of Lord Ranganath, the deity of Damodar, the head priest, Venkat Bhatt, he lit the diya. And as he was ringing the bell with his left hand, offering 7 circles to the deity of Lord Ranganath, at that point he heard the commotion. His meditation got distracted for the right reasons. And he turned to the right and he saw this golden 25-year-old sannyasi singing and dancing to Krishna's names. Each time Venkat Bhatt tried to bring his attention back to the arti, his mind was elsewhere. He kept turning to the right and seeing this 7-foot gigantic sannyasi. Suvarna varna hemanga varangas chandanangadi. When Yudhishthir asked Bhishma, when he was lying on the bed of arrows, Ko dharma sarva dharmanam bhavata paramo mata kim japen muchyate jantur janma samsara bandhanat. Bhishma, you know all dharma. Tell me, whose name, whose worship should people perform? Janma samsara bandhanat, to return back to the ultimate destination. And Bhishma, while lying on the bed of arrows, said, worship that personality who's golden complexioned. Suvarna varana hemanga varangas chandan angadi. On his body, he has chandan tilak. Sannyasa krit chamashanto. He's the only form of Krishna who takes sannyas. Nishtha shanti parayana. And he provides a method by which everyone can gain peace. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Venkat Bhatt saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in person, confused as to who this person is, while offering the final circles to Lord Ranganath, a chamatkar took place. He saw the face of the sannyasi on his right superimposed on the face of Ranganath. That, my friends, is the chamatkar that Kaviraj Goswami tries to write about in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but remains mute for reasons we will discover later. When Venkat Bhatt noticed the same Ranganath is standing as a sannyasi, he found it difficult to believe. God has appeared in flesh and is standing right next to me. During the Aarti, he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please come home. Please come home and meet my family. Nija ghare lana khaila pada prakshalana. His desire was to bathe the feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu agreed, and as he entered into the home of Venkat Bhatt, he met his brothers. He met his brothers Trimala and Prabodhananda. Now, the tens and thousands of Brahmins who had all seen Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing in ecstasy and singing Krishna's names, they all followed him to the house of Venkat Bhatt. Venkat Bhatt's home is here. It's been reconstructed, and you can imagine how so many people try to enter into this house of Venkat Bhatt. During the commotion, an 8-year-old boy, he rushed in, and bursting through the crowds of thousands of people, he wanted to know, what is this commotion all about? And he ran right to the front of the queue, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was seated in the home of his father, his own home. And as soon as Venkat Bhatt saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he immediately said to him, Ariyen, Ariyen, which in Tamil means, please accept me as your servant. At that time, Lord Chaitanya, he locked his gaze on this 8-year-old boy. And this 8-year-old boy got lost looking at this guest in his home. While gazing in each other's eyes, Venkat Bhatt called out to the boy and said to him, Gopal, come to the back. It's not etiquette. Let the others see Lord Chaitanya. You will have your turn. Go to the back. The moment Chaitanya heard the name Gopal, he entered into ecstasy. And while this 8-year-old boy, with his head down, tears in his eyes, began slowly to retract and walk back, the Supreme Personality of Godhead held his hand. And when he held his hand, he said to him, Gopal, Krishna bol. At that time, Gopal, through the touch of the hand of the Supreme Godhead, his body became uncontrollably ecstatic. Venkat Bhatt saw this transformation in the body of his 8-year-old son, Gopal. On the plea of trying to bring his son back to consciousness, he asked his brothers, bring the water from the Kaveri. Let us bathe the feet of Lord Chaitanya. Etat padyam, idamaryam. And they offered the water of Kaveri on the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No sooner, Venkat Bhatt, he collected the water offered, which bathed the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, and he first sprinkled the head of Gopal Bhatt. Lo and behold, as he kept sprinkling the water on the head of Gopal Bhatt, Gopal opened his mouth and he began to drink the divine Kaveri water mixed in the aroma of the two golden, very soft, beautiful lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Lakshmi holds upon her chest and caresses. At that point, Gopal, he began shedding tears mixed with his own eye teardrops and the waters of the Kaveri. 4 days later, Venkat Bhatt asked Lord Chaitanya, Chaturmasya is starting on the Thursday, the 10th of July, 1511. Please stay in my home for 4 months. Gopal will be so happy to be in your service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed to stay in the home of Gopal, Venkat Bhatt, Trimala and Prabodhananda for 4 whole months. This is the first time that Lord Chaitanya had stayed with anyone, and it's the only time he stayed with another family for 4 whole months. Gopal, he was so happy. Every day, he would serve Chaitanya in every way. He would prepare his bathing articles. He would hold his clothes. Wherever he would go, Gopal would follow him. He would oversee the cooking. He would serve all of the prasad to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this way, day and night, for months on end, Gopal was engaged in the service of Lord Chaitanya. 3 key events took place at this time that transformed the heart of 8-year-old Gopal. Firstly, he was invited by the neighboring Brahmins for prasad. And he was watching how in Srirangam, where people recite Veda mantras to worship Sriranganath, Kaviraj Goswami explains, Krishna naam bina ke hai, nahi ke aar. Es Krishna, sabe Krishna bhakta hela, loke chamatkar. That now everybody was reciting the names of Krishna by the influence of Lord Chaitanya. Secondly, it was at this time when that very beautiful story took place where the Brahmin was sitting down on the stairs of Srirangam holding the Bhagavad Gita, unable to recite the Sanskrit. And everybody would just laugh at him. They would mockerize him. He's holding the Gita and just being gibberish, unable to recite the Sanskrit words. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu walked past this aged Brahmin, he saw that the hairs on his body were standing on end. And he asked this Brahmin, how is it possible that you have attained love of Krishna despite not even being able to recite the Sanskrit? Kaviraj Goswami explains that the Brahmin responded, I just see the photo of Lord Krishna and Arjun and seeing how the Supreme Personality of Godhead became the charioteer of his servant makes me ecstatic. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then revealed his personal supremacy to this Brahmin, and then Tabe Mahaprabhu Tanre Karaila Shikshana. Mahaprabhu then personally taught the Bhagavad Gita to this Brahmin, and Gopal witnessed it all. The third most important key event was the transformation of his father and his family. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu developed a friendly relationship with Gopal's father Venkat. And in a joking way, in just a very, very humorous way, he said to Venkat Bhatt, you worship Lakshmi, you worship Narayana, but do you know that the chaste Lakshmi, she renounced the chest of Narayana and began tapasya just to associate with my Go Jarak, my cowherd boy. Why is it? Venkat Bhatt said, "Oh, my dear Lord, Narayana and Krishna, they're the same. So Lakshmi is completely faultless. She simply wanted to leave Narayana and associate with him in the form of Krishna. She still remains chaste because Narayana and Krishna are the same." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You're absolutely correct. Lakshmi is faultless. She is still chaste. But my second question, why is it that after Lakshmi left Narayana and she performed tapasya, she was unable to enter the Rasa Leela? You're making out as if she entered." That's when Venkat Bhatt said, "My dear Lord, these are conversations for very advanced people, not like me. And therefore, only you, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can answer your own questions." Can you imagine being questioned by God? It's a very difficult situation to be in. Then Lord Chaitanya said, "You are correct. It is offensive to distinguish between Narayana and Krishna." However, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted from the Bhagavatam. He said, "Nayam sukhapo bhagavan dehinam gopika sutaha." Krishna can only be accessible if an individual follows in the footsteps of the gopis or the associates of the confidential companions of Krishna. And Lakshmi, she wanted to enter the Rasa Leela in her self-same form. That is why she didn't enter into the Rasa Leela. However, the personified Vedas, they entered the Rasa Leela. The Rigved, Yajurved, Samaved, Atharvaved, the Upanishads, the Shrutis, they all entered the Rasa Leela because they all followed in the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan. That is why Lakshmi was unable to enter the Rasa Leela. And Sri Krishna, Ete chamsa kalaha pumsa, Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the origin of the absolute truth. Narayana and Krishna are the same. However, Narayana is the form of Krishna in awe and reverence. And Shri Krishna is differentiated by 4 major qualities between him and Narayana. And then Mahaprabhu explains, Rupa Madhuri, Leela Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, and Prem or Bhakta Madhuri. There are the specific 4 qualities of Shri Krishna that make him the most all-attractive feature of the absolute truth. His asadharanam proktam, his very inconceivable ability to display all beauty, Rupa Madhuri, his exquisite form, Leela Madhuri, his most advanced intimate exchanges with his devotees in love. Venu Madhuri, Krishna's ability to perform the chanting of the Veda mantras and adding the divine sounds of the entire universe through his flute and play that for the sake of Sri Radharani. Venu Madhuri. And finally, Prem Bhakta Madhuri, his engagements with his devotees in love. These differentiate Narayana and Sri Krishna. It was at that point that Gopal Bhatt understood that Sri Krishna is the original personality of all love, the form of the absolute truth. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he transitioned the family of Venkata Bhatt into devotees of Lord Sri Krishna. And every day he would visit the deity of Lord Ranganath. Now Gopal was a very clever boy. He started to listen to pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu before he took sannyas. And in his heart, he began to privately lament by addressing Providence in a choked voice. He would say, O Providence, why was I born in this distant place from Nadia, from Navadvip Dham? Why have you, O Providence, forced me to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a sannyasi, and you have distanced me? You have made me bereft from seeing his earlier pastimes as Nimai Pandit. Gopal would weep day and night. He would breathe heavily, hot as fire, in separation of not seeing the beautiful youthful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Once upon a time, when Gopal fell asleep, thinking of this way, lamenting and crying out to Providence, while sleeping, in his dream, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared as Nimai Pandit. And while holding the hand of Gopal, he took him through the streets of Navadvip. In one night, Gopal Bhatt, the 8-year-old son of Venkata Bhatt, he saw and experienced firsthand the entire pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from his birth all the way up to taking sannyas in Katha. Gopal Bhatt was the only person who witnessed the entire set of pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. During these pastimes, in his dream, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced Gopal to Advaita Acharya and to Prabhu Nityananda. At that point, they embraced Gopal, and Advaita Acharya and Prabhu Nityananda, they were just about to speak to Gopal that he woke up from his dream. And when he woke up from his dream, he was completely bewildered. He was confused. It felt like I have seen and experienced, and I was always there. I was always there in the pastimes of Chaitanya. He got up from his bed, in this case the floor, and he ran to the next room where Lord Chaitanya was sleeping, just to make sure that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is still residing in his home. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he got up from the floor, and as Gopal came to realize that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who took him through the streets of Navadvip, was still in my home, at that point, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his form, his body transformed into the precise features 100% of Lord Shri Krishna. And this form that Gopal Bhatt saw, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu transformed into, later on manifested as the deity of Sri Radharamana Dev. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed this very form of Radharaman to Gopal Bhatt as an 8-year-old boy. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his form as Radharaman Devaju, transformed back into a sannyasi. And then Lord Chaitanya, he held Gopal, he put him on his right lap, and he squeezed him, and he embraced him, and he bathed Gopal with his own tears. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave 2 instructions to Gopal. He said to him, Gopal, I would like you to go to Vrindavan Dham and associate with 2 valuable jewels, whose names are Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami. Help them in compiling scriptures and help them to uncover holy places of Vrindavan Dham. When Gopal Bhatt heard this, he remained silent, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had only read half of his mind. Gopal, while remaining silent, looking at the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in that moment of awkward silence, that sannata, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then read his mind. And he said to Gopal, Gopal, your most inner desires will soon be fulfilled. When you go to Vrindavan, I will be there with you. I will stay with you in Vrindavan Dham. Because Gopal Bhatt was completely infatuated. He was obsessed. He was fully attached to only being with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is the promise that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made to an 8-year-old boy. Go to Vrindavan, I will be there with you. It was this promise that Gopal harbored in his heart for 31 years, precisely. For 31 years, Gopal Bhatt waited for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to join him in Vrindavan. 4 days later, Lord Chaitanya, having seen how Gopal Bhatt was so attached to him, he actually initiated him as his own disciple. Tin ka kahe Prabhu Diksha Tabadini Shri Gopala Mantra Rasabhini. Lord Chaitanya, he whispered the Gopala Mantra into the ears of Gopal Bhatt and made him his own disciple. 4 days later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was ready to depart Srirangam. An 8-year-old Gopal said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if you're leaving Srirangam, please take me with you. You said to me 4 days earlier that you will be there in Vrindavan with me. You're going to Puri, from Puri you're going to Vrindavan, I want to join you. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu laughed. He said, your first duty is to honor and look after your parents. When your parents depart on their blessings, then you can come to Vrindavan. I promise to you, I will meet you in Vrindavan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very important that we note the promise of Lord Chaitanya, because you're going to see in a few moments how it was a very difficult, unbelievable promise for Lord Chaitanya to meet, fulfill, and honor. Gopal accepted the orders of his Guru, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he began studying the scriptures, Sanskrit, under the scholarship of his uncle, Prabodhananda Saraswati. Gopal Bhatt, he became like a machine. He was able to memorize every line of every scripture ever revealed. The Srimad Bhagavatam, every single line. The Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Puranas, the Vedas. He was a walking, talking, living encyclopedia. This is why when eventually he went to Vrindavan, it was Sanatana Goswami, it was Rupa Goswami, it was Jiva Goswami who asked Gopal Bhatt, we've been asked by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to publish specific scriptures, but we need the books, we need the verses. And Gopal Bhatt would provide them the verses from his memory. A verse on how to offer arti, a verse on how to decorate Krishna, a verse on the mantras to offer to Krishna. Everything in Lord Mahaprabhu's, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's culture, the Hari Bhakti Vilas, the Satguru Sadipika, all of the scriptures, the Sandarbhas, it was Gopal Bhatt who provided all of the content, all of the information. He was a living encyclopedia of the entire Vedic canon of scriptures. Gopal Bhatt, precisely 20 years later, in the year 1531, at the age of 28, his parents were about to leave this world. And they gave their complete blessings to Gopal to now leave Srirangam and go towards Vrindavan Dham. With these blessings, Gopal Bhatt then left. Sorry, doesn't seem to be working now. Gopal Bhatt, he then left left Srirangam, and you can see the walk that he took all the way from Srirangam to Vrindavan Dham. It took many, many weeks, many, many months. And as Gopal started to walk towards Vrindavan, he would lose his way. He had no idea which is the direction in which I should go. While walking on the way to Vrindavan, it would seem as if he would lose himself in night and day. He would forget to eat. Wild animals would see his beauty and make way for him. There were no paths. There were no roads. Sometimes crowds would gather around Gopal Bhatt just to see his beauty. In the Bhakti Ratnakar, it explains, Kiva Gopalera Shobha Saravanga Sundara Jiniya Champakacharu Varna Manohar. Gopal Bhatt was a beautiful youth whose complexion was bright, like a golden champak flower. He had large eyes and eyebrows, and his forehead was adorned with bright tilak. How beautiful were his ears and neck. How beautiful were his hands, chest, and thin waist. How beautiful were his thighs, knees, and reddish feet. He wore splendid clothes and was decorated with many ornaments. Everyone who saw Gopal were attracted by his ever-increasing beauty and form. Gopal Bhatt was compassionate. He is poetic. He was an excellent singer, an excellent dancer, an excellent musician. He had extraordinarily personified the scriptures and Sanskrit language. But he didn't have ChatGPT. No Google Maps. No WhatsApp. No, if you can remember the days of A to Z. No A to Z. Do you remember A to Z, Vishakha? No. We'll remember A to Z. It's a very sacred Bible. We should check it out. And it's never wrong. A to Z are never wrong, no matter what's going on the streets of England. He had no A to Z. Gopal started, for those who are happy here, he started heading towards Gujarat. At that point, a Brahmin, a Brahmin appeared on the scene. And he said to Gopal, "Where are you going?" Gopal said, "I need to go to Vrindavan." He said, "I'm from Vrindavan. I was born in Vrindavan. I'll take you to Vrindavan." So this Brahmin held the hand of Gopal and he would cook for him. He would feed him. He would even caress his feet and arms when he would sleep. This Brahmin would sing different melodies to put Gopal to sleep, and he walked with him all the way from Srirangam to Vrindavan. Sometimes this Brahmin would ask Gopal questions. "Why are you going to Vrindavan?" And this Brahmin would inquire from him about the science of Lord Krishna. And he would pose very difficult questions that Gopal would unseemingly be able to answer. This Brahmin was so impressed with Gopal. Walking days on end, finally reaching the borders of Vrindavan, the Brahmin asked Gopal, "My son, now you sleep. Because once you wake up, you have a long list of duties to perform in Vrindavan Dham." Gopal slept on the lap of this Brahmin. And then suddenly, in the morning, when the peacocks began to sing, Gopal woke up. And when he woke up, he saw that this Brahmin, from his pocket, put on his peacock feather. He held his flute in his left hand. And he said to Gopal, Gopal, rise. You have now entered Vrindavan Dham. And then the Brahmin, who was none other than Lord Shri Krishna, he vanished from the scene. And that is when Gopal Bhatt began to cry. He started saying, my dear Lord, why did you take so much trouble to take me from Srirangam all the way to Vrindavan Dham? While crying in this way, a voice from the sky spoke to Gopal, saying to him, Gopal, please don't worry. Now you should live in Vrindavan because, do you remember the promise that was made by Lord Chaitanya? He will come to be with you. So enter Vrindavan and go and find Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. Gopal met the two jewels and immediately they began treating him like a younger brother. And they introduced Gopal Bhatt to the worship of the Teen Thakurs, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Gopinath and Radha Govinda Dev. Gopal Bhatt, coming from Srirangam, he would dress these deities, worship them. There was only about a 10-minute walk, I did the calculations, about a 10-minute walk from the different deities. He would go to one deity, worship, next deity and the third deity. But Gopal Bhatt needed a place to stay. And he found this very energetic peepal tree. And on this peepal tree, he saw the beautiful imprints of the hands of Sri Radharani 4,500 years earlier. And as he slept under this peepal tree, he would sometimes hear the name Raman, Raman, Raman. And he would wonder, is this the same peepal tree that the Bhagavatam speaks of? Is this the same peepal tree that Sri Radharani called out to her lover? If this is the same peepal tree, then जिस देश में, जिस वेश में, परिवेश में रहो, राधारमन, राधारमन, राधारमन कहो. If this is Sri Radharani's Raman that she had called upon when embracing the peepal tree, then the world is about to witness a miracle. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you reside. It doesn't matter how much wealth you have. It doesn't matter how poor you are. In whatever state, all you need in this life is the name of Sri Radharaman, Sri Radharaman, Sri Radharaman.
जिस कर्म में जिस मर्म में रहो,
जिस कर्म में जिस कर्म में जिस
Thank you so much, Vishakha. So beautiful. Wasn't that amazing, everybody? Another round of applause for Vishakha. So beautiful. Thank you. Haribo! Haribo! Sri Radharamana ki jai! Oh. And you know, she's just like Anjana, she's also a very intimate associate of Sri Radharamana Devaju. Sri Radharamana Lal ki Jai. So today we have here people who have true love for Sri Radharamana Dev, singing his glories amongst us here today. I wish we could have more bhajans and less of me speaking, isn't it? I'll be quick. Thank you for that. I'll be quick. Yeah, exactly. Some extension. So Gopal Bhatt, while residing under this peepal tree, he was associating with those divine words that took place 4,500 years earlier. Prabhuji, ye nahi chal raha hai. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. And when Gopal Bhatt was living under the peepal tree, it was at that point where in Jagannath Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was once attending a class, a Bhagavatam class by Gadadhar Pandit. Now Gadadhar Pandit, as some of you will know, he was the manifestation of Sri Radharani. And he was able to articulate the highest explanations of her mood, even greater than Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas, even greater than Shukadev Goswami, even greater than Lord Krishna himself. And by hearing from Gadadhar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was able to enter into the Radha's mood of separation. After the Bhagavatam class, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Gadadhar, I feel concerned because I have not received any news from Braj for a long time. Rupa and Sanatan would often write letters to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give updates on the excavations and the scriptures that they published. It was at that time when Lord Chaitanya was inquiring about not receiving any news from Vrindavan that a postman appeared and said Sanatan Goswami had sent a letter in January for your attention. And the postman immediately delivered the letter to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read that Sanatan Goswami had explained about the deities which they had excavated, about the books which they have written, but most importantly, that a beautiful young boy at the age of 28 had traveled all the way from Srirangam, and he is now with us, and he is helping us to compile books. His name is Gopal. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this news, he immediately started to recite a Gopal Bhatt Katha to his associates, telling them about how he stayed in the home for 4 months of Venkat Bhatt and the interactions he had with Gopal Bhatt. In October, in fact on Dasera, in the month of Kartik, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent a reply, and he asked the postman, deliver this letter to Rupa and Sanatan. The letter stated that please accept Gopal Bhatt as your younger brother, and he will help you in writing a lot more literature and distributing books. Now Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he asked the postman, at the time that you deliver this letter, I would also like you to give to Gopal Bhatt this wooden seat, my personal asan, from which I deliver lectures upon which I recite Krishna's names, I perform my japamala. Please give my seat as a gift to Gopal Bhatt. But Lord Chaitanya wasn't satisfied. He wanted to give more. But as a sannyasi, what else did he have? He looked to the left and he saw that on a washing line was the only second piece of cloth that he had. His Bahirvas and Dor Kopin. The Dor Kopin was his loin cloth with the thread to tie it, and his outer chadar. It was just washed and it was out in the sun to dry. He said to the postman, take my bahirvas, my chadar, take my spare loincloth and door, thread, and also give this to Gopal Bhatt as my personal gifts. And then he also asked Gadadhar and Sarabhom, give the postman Mahaprasad and garlands of Lord Jagannath. Give everything as a gift to Gopal. The postman then arrived in Vrindavan and he gave all of this to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami, he organized a procession, a Ratha Yatra. He placed the asan of Lord Chaitanya upon the cart. He placed the Dor Gopin and the Bahirvas upon the cart. And hundreds of devotees, while singing Krishna's names, transported these gifts of Lord Chaitanya to Gopal Bhatt, who was sitting under the peepal tree. And Gopal Bhatt, he placed these items upon his head. As Sanatan said to him, these items are not for you to place on your head, but for you to use. Gopal Bhatt felt very embarrassed to sit on the seat of Lord Chaitanya, to wear the clothes that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would personally use to cover his body. So Gopal Bhatt, he received these items, and as he received the sannyas cloth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the kopin, the chadar, and the seat of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Goswamis declared, from this day onwards, you shall be named Gopal Bhatt Goswami. And in this way, Gopal Bhatt became one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan Dham. However, Gopal Bhatt, he was exceptionally intelligent. His heart began to bleed. He was uncomfortable receiving these items. He felt something terrible is about to take place. Nobody else even remotely thought that something terrible will happen with receiving these gifts. Weeks went by, many months went by, and then suddenly, one night, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, they all had the same dream. In their dream, Shri Gaurasundar Mahaprabhu, while singing and dancing, left planet Earth, entered into the skies, into the universe, and walked his way back to Shvetadvip, to Golok Vrindavan, the spiritual world. Rup, Sanatan, Gopal Bhatt, they met the next morning. They sat together, like you can see in these photos, in these images, and no one said a word. After many hours of reflection, they all revealed their respective dreams to each other. It was the same dream. And then it was precisely 5 months later that the news from Jagannath Puri arrived in Vrindavan Dham, that Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had departed this earth. It was on the Falgun Purnima, the exact anniversary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world, on the 14th of March in the year 1534, when he was 48 years old. Gopal Bhatt Goswami was then 31 years of age. Gopal Bhatt was very confused. He didn't understand what was going on. So many years ago, he promised to be with me in Vrindavan. I came to serve Rupa and Sanatan, but my real reason of coming was to be with him, just like I was with him for 4 months in my home in Srirangam. Gopal Bhatt, for 8 whole years, for 8 years, Gopal Bhatt worshipped Madan Mohan, Gopinath, and Govindadev. 8 whole years had passed. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had departed, and Gopal Bhatt still was very confused. How is Mahaprabhu's promise going to come true? I believe in him, I trust him, but he has left the earth. How literally on earth? How on earth is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu you're going to come to live with me in Vrindavan. Suddenly, while thinking in this way, Gopal Bhatta had a dream. And in that dream, Lord Chaitanya said to him, if you wish to find me, go to Nepal. On the river Gandaki, there is a very special kund called, believe it or not, Damodara Kund. You see, it's such a significant name. And in Damodara Kund, you shall receive 12 Shaligram Shilas, and you will find me in that Shila. Gopal Bhatta immediately woke up from this dream, took permission from Rupa and Sanatan, and Rupa Goswami said, Shri Govinda Devahana Sarvasva Tomar. It is well known to me that Govinda Dev is everything for you, but Tathapi Pritaka Seva Kara Ichatar. It is Govinda Dev who now desires that you worship him in a pritak, in a different form. So go, my son, go, my brother, go, Gopal Bhatta, go to Gandaki and find Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Shalagram Shila. Gopal Bhatta Goswami, barefoot, walked from Vrindavan Dham to the borders of Tibet, and there he arrived in Damodar Kund. And he searched everywhere. He went to every corner of Damodar Kund, and he couldn't find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He began crying. He began loudly shouting out, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, will I not see you again? Where are you, my Lord? Where are you? In this way, he began fasting. 3 days had passed. And at one point, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he became unconscious and he fainted and he hit his head on the stones of the bed of the Damodar Kund in Gandaki. At that point, Gopal Bhatta Goswami woke one morning and he entered into the rivers of the Damodar Kund. And while entering into the river, he placed his cupped hands into the holy sacred water of Damodar Kund. And as he lifted his hands to offer argyam to Surya Narayan, at that point he noticed a 12-inch long Shaligram Shila had appeared from the water into his hand. Immediately, Gopal Bhatta began crying out, Gaura Krishna, Gaura Krishna, Gaura Krishna. He held this 12-inch long Shaligram Shila to his heart and he began bathing it with his tears. He was shocked and utterly surprised that the words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that came to him in his dream are slowly being fulfilled. He placed the 12-inch Shaligram Shila on the side and then he completed his ablutions. But this time, every time he would collect water to offer tarpan, 11 Shaligram Shilas would enter into his water pots. He discarded them again. They entered again. For the third time he discarded them. This time he felt this must be the desire of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The 11 Shaligrams and his 12-inch Shaligram Shila, he wrapped into his chadar and he took them back to Vrindavan Dham with him. As he was heading back to Vrindavan from the north, he happened to stay in a particular village which was called Devavan at that time. Today it is called Deoband. It is in Saharanpur, Uttar Pradesh. And in this village, Chandilya Brahmins from Braj had settled. Gopal Bhatta Goswami stayed in their home and he initiated their oldest son, whose name was Gopinath Goswami, and asked him that when you grow up, come to Vrindavan and help me serve Lord Krishna. He also blessed his parents to have another son, whom he already had named Damodar Goswami, once again serving as a predestiny connection to the forthcoming deity. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they were so happy to see that the Shalagram Shilas had entered into the hands and pot of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and he began to worship them. One day, a particular pilgrim came to visit Vrindavan Dham, he had stitched and prepared different ornaments and clothes for Madan Mohan, Gopinath and Govinda Devji. And then he was asked by the Goswamis, please also visit Gopal Bhatta Goswami because he has some deities too. When this pilgrim came to visit Gopal Bhatta Goswami became very sad because the outfits that were made would not fit the Shalagram Shila. The outfits were made for the hands and the arms and the legs and the feet of standing Sri Krishna. And he just had this long Shila together with 11 other Shilas. He asked the pilgrim, let me keep the clothes for some other deities. The pilgrim gave the clothes to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. But it was on that day that he started to become very sad that the other Goswamis have personified forms of Lord Shri Krishna, but all I have are stones representing Krishna Bhagavan. Then the most transformative event took place, a key life event in the life of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. On Tuesday, the 18th of April, 1542, it was the day of Akshaya Tritiya, where Chandan Yatra begins. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami, for 21 days, he would cover the long Shalagram Shila with Chandan, yellow powder. And he placed it upon a lotus flower and he would swing the 12-inch Shalagram Shila, just like we swing Lord Shri Krishna during Julan Yatra. Now at that time, the grand disciple of Shripad Madhvendra Puri, the grand disciple, in other words, the godbrother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his name was Sri Hariram Vyasji. Hariram Vyasji came to Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and he was the famous poet and the Rajaguru of Urcha states. Gopal Bhatta Goswami asked Sri Hariram Vyasji, I have heard that you are a great poet. Please prepare some poems in honor of my Shaligram Shila, which is 12-inch in length, covered in sandalwood chandan powder, and I am now swinging as part of Julan Yatra. Sri Hariram Vyasji, I can't really imitate him, but his right eye went all the way up, and he was shocked to see this 12-inch Shaligram Shila. And this is what came to his mind. Can you believe? This is what came to his mind when he saw this Shila. And he composed a poem and he sang this to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He said, Jhule mere gandaki nandan, mano bhata kari me bhore, ang lagaya chandan, Jhule mere gandaki nandan. Gopal Bhatta Goswami is swinging Lord Shri Krishna just as if it was an aubergine covered with gram flour. He is swinging Krishna in his mind, but actually it looks nothing other than a pakora. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami is listening to this poem. My dear Lord is being described like a pakora. Hata na pao, naina nahi nasa, dhyana na karat kachu hota anandan. This pakora of Lord Shri Krishna's form has no hands, has no feet, has no nose. In fact, I have no bliss in meditating upon a pakora. Then he said, Jalandhara or Vrindavallabha, Game Vyas kaha kahe chandan. I, Sri Hariram Vyasji, one of the greatest poets, how can I sing the glories of somebody who was cursed by Tulsi Devi, by Jalandhar to become a stone? Let this person be the deity worshipped by Gopal Bhatta Goswami. But for me, I have no bliss, I have no happiness in continuing any more poetry in glorification of this aubergine pakora. And he got up and left. He got up and left, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he was distressed. This is what people think of my Krishna. I'm the only one who has love and heart for this 12-inch shalagram shila. And in this way, Gopal Bhatt, his distress increased and increased. And then on Friday, the 28th of April, in the year 1542 AD, it was the celebration of Narsimha Chaturdashi. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami's disciples began to recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. And his ears were pricked when they recited the following verse. Satyam vidhatum nijya bhritya bhashitam vyaptim chad bhuteshva akhileshu chatmanaha adrishyatat yad bhuta rupam udvahan stambhe sabhayam namrigam namanusham. In order to fulfill the words of Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Krishna appeared from a pillar. My dear Lord, if you can appear from a pillar, why can't you appear from my Shila? And in this way, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he wept the entire Narsimha Chaturdashi while the devotees were enjoying the festival and having prasad and worshipping Lord Narsimha Dev. He was simply weeping. And while weeping in this way, he started to put himself to sleep while continuously reciting Stambhe Sabhayam Namrigam Namanusham. Stambhe Sabhayam Namrigam Namanusham. If you appeared from a pillar, appear from the Shila. If you can appear from a pillar, appear from the Shila. At night, Gopal Bhatta Goswami had a vision. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left Puri, and he was walking with his hands and the arms in the air while reciting Harinam Sankirtan, and he was walking towards Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu was coming to Vrindavan, and in this way, Gopal Bhatt woke up from his sleep, and he went to the Yamuna to bathe. And when he came back from the Yamuna to bathe, he saw that his wicker basket, within which he had put to sleep his 12-inch shalagram shila, covered in gram flour, which he had then taken off and put in the wicker basket, together with the other 11 shaligram shilas. He saw that it looked like as if there was a snake inside. Rupa Goswami had written a poem where he stated, Veni Vyalangana Fanam, that the braids of Sri Radharani are just like the hoods of a serpent. Sanatan Goswami asked Rupa, remove this verse from your poetry, from your Chatu Pushpanjali. Rupa said, fine, no problem. Sanatan once went to bathe in the river Yamuna, and he saw some girls standing on the banks of the river Yamuna. And then he saw a snake on the back of one of the girls. And Sanatan Goswami cried out, oh Lali, please be careful. There is a snake on your back. This Lali, she turned around and she began laughing at Sanatan Goswami. And Sanatan Goswami then realized that this Lali was none other than Sri Radharani. And it is Veni Vyalangana Fanam. Her hair braids are just like the hoods of a serpent. Gopal Bhatta Goswami was thinking, maybe the same serpent, the braids of Sri Radharani, are now in my wicker basket. At that moment, as he lifted the lid of the wicker basket, hundreds and thousands of suns had emerged from the basket, and it was in the front of the very eyes of Gopal Bhatta Goswami that the 12-inch shaligram shila stood up and changed and transformed and manifested in the threefold form of Sri Shama Sundara Dev, he noticed that this is the very same form that the scriptures declare to be the original personality of Godhead. He noticed that in this form, the feet were none other than Radha Madan Mohan Ji. The chest and the arms were none other than Sri Radha Gopinath Ji. And the face exactly resembled Radha Govinda Dev. It was Uttara who confirmed to Vajranab that the carvings by Vishwakarma are precisely the form of Sri Krishna that I personally witnessed in Dwapar Yuga. But they were split amongst 3 different deities. Bhatta Goswami saw the 3 forms of Lord Sri Krishna come together to make a 100% exact replica of Lord Sri Krishna Bhagwan. At that point, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he held Sri Radharaman Dev in his lap and he began to shed tears of love. How the Lord of his heart has now manifested from the Shaligram Shila. The news spread everywhere. At that point, Rupa Goswami appeared, Sanatana Goswami appeared. Rupa said, this deity is none other than Krishna himself. In fact, this deity is the very same Raman who 4,500 years earlier Sri Radharani had cried out for. So many years later, the prediction, the fulfillment, the heart's desire of Sri Radharani has finally come true through your devotion, through your hands. They mentioned that Maharishi Shandilya, who was the guru of Lord Sri Krishna, the guru of Nanda Baba and Mother Yashoda, he had mentioned that Atma tu Radhika tasya tayeva Ramanadaso. It is only the form of Lord Sri Raman within whose heart Sri Radhika resides. The Yamuna quotes, Atma Ramasya Krishnasya Dhruvam Atmasti Radhika. Sri Radharani had fully manifested in the heart of Raman. And in this way, everyone exclaimed that it is very clear that the form of Sri Radharamanji that consists of the face, the chest and the feet of Govinda, Gopinath and Madan Mohan has now manifested to fulfill the desire of Sri Radharani. And in this way, the assembly of Vrindavan Dham, all of the associates, the devotees, the disciples of the Goswamis, they all came together to sing a beautiful bhajan which glorifies the darling beloved of Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Jaya Pranadhana Radharaman Gopal Bhatta Juke Ladile.
Jai Jai Shri Radharaman Jai Jai Shri Naval Kishore Jai Gopi Chitta Chor Prabhu Jai Jai Shri Makhan Chor Jayo Prana Dhana Radharamana Shri Gopal Bhatta Juke Ladile Jayo Prana Dhana Jayo Prana Dhana Radharamana Shri Gopal Bhatta Juke Ladile Jayo Prana Dhana Radharamana Shri जय श्याम सुंदर अधर मुरली बाजत तानन आदिले जय श्याम सुंदर अधर मुरली बाजत तानन आदिले जय श्याम सुंदर अधर मुरली भाजत तानन आदिले श्याम सुंदर अधर मुरली भाजत तानन आदिले जय मोर मुकुट झुकोए बाए पीत आंबर राजही जय मोर मुकुट झुकोए भाए
पीत अंबर राजही
जय मोर मुकुट झुकोए बाए पीत आंबर राजही जय मोर मुकुट झुकोए बाए
अंबर राजही
जय मकर कुंडल श्रवण झूमे गंड मंडल ब्रज हे जय मकर कुंडल श्रवण झूमे जय मकर कुंडल श्रवण झूमे गंड मंडल ब्रज हे जय मकर कुंडल श्रवण झूमे जय प्राण धन राधा रमन श्री गोपाल भट्ट जुके लादिले जय प्राण धन राधा जय श्याम सुंदर अधर मुरली बाजत तानन आदिले जय श्याम जय बांकनायन मधुर बयानन मंद मुस्कानी मुख सजे जय बांकनायन मधुर बयानन मंद मुस्कानी मुख सजे जय बांकनायन मधुर बयानन मंद मुस्कानी मुख साजे जय जयंती माला उर्कटी किंकिनी काल धोनी बजे जय जयंती माला उर्कटी किंकिनी जय जयंती माला उर्कटी किंकिनी काल धोनी बजे जय जय प्राण धन राम Shri Gopal Bhatta Juke Ladile Jaya Prana Jaya Shama Sundara Adhara Murali Bhajat Tanan Adile Jaya Shama से जाय कर कमल लकुटी सुरांगी नव त्रिभांगी जाय कर कमल लकुटी सुरांगी नव त्रिभांगी छबिला से जाय कर कमल चरण कमलन नुपुरन सूरा मंजरी गुण मान बसे जय चरण कमलन नुपुरन सूरा जय चरण कमलन नुपुरन सूरा मंजरी गुण मान बसे जय प्राण धन राधारमन श्री गोपाल भट्ट जुके लादिले जय प्राण धन जय श्याम सुंदर अधर मुरली बाजत तानन आदिले जय श्याम जय प्राण धन राधारमन जय प्राण धन जय प्राण धन राधारमन जय प्राण जय प्राण धन मेरो राधारमन जय प्राण धन जय प्राण धन मेरो राधारमन राधारमन मेरो राधारमन हे राधारमन मेरो राधारमन हे राधारमन मेरो राधारमन राधारमन मेरो राधारमन हे राधारमन मेरो राधारमन मेरो राधारमन मेरो राधारमन
Jai Sri Radharamana Lal ki Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Once again, round of applause. Anjana Suta Prabhu. Thank you so much. Both Vishakha, Anjana Suta Prabhuji, they're all taking us to Vrindavan Dham each time they sing bhajans. Isn't it true? How beautiful, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So wonderful. So I warned you about my time management in Kathas, okay? So I would look to finish in about 5 minutes Indian timing. Okay, 5-6 minutes is okay? And then we'll have prasad. I'll try to race through as quick as I can. And we have some wonderful questions that have come through as well. I'll try to incorporate it. So Sri Radharaman Dev appeared. At this point, the Goswamis then, Rupa Goswami, he then was the officiating Brahmin for the first ever Abhishek of Sri Radharaman Dev. And they performed the chanting of the Purusha Sukta, Veda mantras, and with the Vidhi and Vidan they bathed and they performed the first ever Abhishek of Sri Radharaman Dev. At this point, there was one person that remained silent throughout this entire event, and that was Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami, he was silent and meditating, and at that point, everyone turned to him for guidance and to understand what is on the mind of Sanatana Goswami. Rupa Goswami named the deity Radharaman, but Sanatan, he was quiet. And then Sanatan spoke. And Sanatan Goswami then said, I can see Lord Shri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the form of Radharaman Devaju. And the Sanatana Goswami began on his own to raise his arms in the air, and he started dancing and singing, and he actually sang the following words. He said, Gopalera prana dhana, Gora hoilo Radharaman. Gopalera prana dhana, Gora hoilo Radharaman. Gopal bhattera prana dhana, Gora hoilo Radharaman. Gopal bhattera prana dhana, Gora hoilo Radharaman. Gora hoilo Radharaman, Gora hoilo Radharaman. Gora hoilo Radharaman, Gora hoilo Radharaman. Gopal bhattera prana dhana, Gora hoilo Radharaman. Gopal bhattera prana dhana, Gora hoilo Radharaman. And in this way, the whole of Vrindavan were wondering, how is Sanatana Goswami seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the form of Radharaman Dev? But he was the only one and the first one that realized Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has returned. Gopal had faith that this was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he couldn't see him in that way. And then at that point, the Bhakti Ratnakar explains that Mandir Kariya Nija Seva Karidhila, that Sri Radharaman Dev, he actually made his own temple. And then he personally, Ati Vilakshanataha Kahila Nahila, he personally spoke to Gopal Bhatta Goswami about how to worship him, what to make for him, what to cook for him. And the deities outlined its entire day-to-day regime and procedure for the daily worship of Sri Radharaman Dev. Radharaman every day would show various expressions of his beauty. And the Bhakti Ratnakar records, Ati su madura bhangi vidita bhuvane prakata samaye mahananda vrindavane, that the whole of Vrindavan would gather around the deity to see its smile, to see sometimes the various teeth it would break out into as part of his large smile. And it became a well-known fact that this deity of Sri Radharaman is actually a living deity. It is Krishna himself standing in the Angan under the peepal tree of Sri Radharani in Naval Nikunj. Sri Radharaman Murti Ati Manohar. There was no other form of Sri Krishna that in one deity was 100% precisely exactly how Krishna looks. The same eyes, the same face, the same torso, the body, legs, feet and arms. This was the 100% replica. Krishna himself coming as Sri Radharaman Dev. And in this way, Gopal Bhatta Goswami would every day worship Sri Radharaman. However, the consort of Prabhu Nityananda, Janava Devi, came to see Radharaman. And she was thinking that how comes there is no Radharani? We call him Radharaman, but there is no Radharani. So she brought with her a golden deity of Sri Radhika. And this golden deity, Prabhuji, Haribol, Chalado please. Thank you. This golden deity of Sri Radharani, as you can see on the side, was then placed beside the deity of Radharaman. And in this way, Janava Mataji felt, now it is right. His name is evident as Radharaman. That night, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, in his dream, he felt uneasy. The next day, when he woke up, he found the deity of Sri Radharani missing. There was no deity situated beside Radharaman. He looked everywhere for her, and he found her sitting on the doorsteps of the temple. He quickly lifted her and placed her back beside Radharaman Devji. Worshipped her throughout the day with Raman Lal. Next day went to sleep, woke up, again, deity gayab. Deity vanished. This time the deity was found in the kitchen. He once again collected the deity and placed her beside Radharaman Dev. This happened day after day after day. And then Sri Radharaman Devji spoke to Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and he said to him, this is in fact my sister, and her name is Yogamaya. This is why every night you put her to sleep with me, and then she leaves the altar. Sri Radharani is part of me. She is in my heart. Sri Radharani and Lord Shri Krishna cannot be separated. And therefore, the deity of Sri Radharaman is Sri Radha and Lord Shri Krishna in one form. And thereafter, the deity was then moved outside of Vrindavan, and to this day is worshipped as Shitala Mata in Gurugram, previously called Gurugaon. And she is now the Kula Devi of the Goswamis of the Sri Radharaman temple. Bhatta Goswami would daily worship Sri Radharaman Dev, but he would remember Nija Grihe Pitara Agya, that in my own home, on the order of my father, I would worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in person. Netrera Dharaya, he would sometimes feel quite guilty that the same way I am worshipping Radharaman Dev was the same way I used to worship Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but I miss him. It has now been 31 years, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's promise to me hasn't been fulfilled. It was in this way that the Bhakti Ratnakar reveals, ever bound by the love of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Gopalera Premadhina Sri Radharaman, Shri Gaura Sundara Murti Haila Shekshana, that Sri Radharaman Dev, he took pleasure in revealing himself in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Navina Vayasa Vesha Bhuvane Mataya Murche Madana Koti Rupera Chataya. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu transformed himself from the deity of Sri Radharaman, Bhatta Goswami saw that he was young, dressed so beautifully, and he enchanted the whole universe. His beauty was more exquisite than that of beauty. Shobha nirikite hiya ananda uthale. When Gopal Bhatta Goswami saw that Sri Radharaman Dev is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, coming back to live with him in Vrindavan, ki dekhinu, ki dekhinu, ki dekhinu, what have I seen? What have I seen? What am I seeing? And in this way, Baliya Paraya Mahitale, he then fainted on the floor. Gopal Bhatta Goswami, the promise that was made to him 31 years ago, had finally manifested. He realized Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. That Sri Radharaman Dev, even to this day, if you take darshan from the front, you see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Darshan from the right, you see Lord Shri Krishna. Darshan from the left, you see Sri Radharani. In this way, Sri Radharaman Dev revealed to Gopal Bhatta Goswami that he and the deity are non-different. Sri Radharaman Gopalera Pranapati. He became the life and soul of Sripad Gopala Bhatta Goswami. The thread that Sri Radharani had tied around the waist of Lord Shri Krishna 4,500 years ago is to this day engraved on the waist of Sri Radharamana Devaju. If you go to Vrindavan today, now in the hot season, you will see the engraving and the marks of Sri Radharani's golden thread around the waist of Sri Radharamana Devaju. This is how we connect the longing and the cries of her in the Srimad Bhagavatam to the deity. And in this way, to this day, devotees come and assemble and they glorify the love of Gopal Bhatta Goswami and how he manifested Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be with us to this day in the form of Sri Radharaman Dev. In this way, we are exactly now 7 o'clock, so we'll wrap up the Katha. Thank you all so much for being with us for 2.5 hours, listening to the Katha. I've tried my very best to put together something quite difficult to explain and express. I hope you enjoyed this small attempt to try to glorify the anniversary appearance of Sri Radharaman Devaju 483 years later. It is our prayers and our request to the Lord that may He shine in our hearts similar bhakti, similar love that He invested in Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Sri Radharaman Devaju is a deity whom we can't decide to love. He decides if you can love Him. And in order to increase our devotion towards Him, it has been such an honor and a pleasure to have singing His sacred glories, Anjana Suta Prabhuji. And joining him, we had the most lovely voice of Vishakha as well. On the tabla, we had Dillen. Thank you so much, Dillen. And on the violin, what a beautiful violinist, Meera. Thank you so much. And as you know, keeping the Katha so beautiful, not the words, but the sacred sounds of Lord Shri Krishna's Vamshi. On the flute, our very dear Shri Jayraj ji. Thank you so much. If I could also please thank Manish ji, the AV team, for organizing all of the different apparatus. Thank you so much. Ram Lakshman ji, thank you for recording this and making this available for everyone later. I would also like to acknowledge Vaishnav Prabhuji. Thank you so much for all of your help to administer the Katha. Sori Goranga Prabhuji, Shyam Sundarji, Yogi ji, and Janvaji from Bhaktivedanta Manor. Thank you all so much. And Vinesh ji, thank you so much for putting this together as well. I'm going to hand it over for a quick announcement by Vaishnav Seva or Goranga Prabhuji. But before they do so, I would like to share with you 2 quick secrets. This winter, it was very cold in Vrindavan. So the Goswamis, for the first time, I believe it was, they made socks for Sri Radharaman Dev. And the orange ones were brought back, and they are here in the front for all of you to take darshan of. On Holi, the devotees, they made a garland using the colored flowers of Vrindavan Dham, and that garland was then put together, those colors were then put together in the form of a garland. I'll ask Jayraj ji just to lift this garland, this blue and yellow one, into the air, if you can. And you'll all see this is the holy garland that was placed around the deity of Sri Radharaman Devji. And the bhav is that Lord Sri Radharaman, as he follows the Ashtakaliya Leela, he slaved Sri Radharani with the colors of this holy garland. And today, if you could just make your way after the announcement in this way, leaving this part of the room, I will take one out and give to each of you. You can place on your heads, on the heads of your family, keep it in your home. This is the personal Mahaprasad of Sri Radharani and Sri Radharamana Devaju as a gift from all of us to you for celebrating the 483rd